When I started off with my first company with Jinal, I was a mother of two children. I have a 7-year-old and a 6-year-old. So I definitely was able to relate to what other mothers need, whether being getting back to work, because I got back to work in an agency before I started on my own. Or as to become an entrepreneur. I think one is they need to have a support system, and if they don't have a support system, they need to make sure they have one, right? So it's not like saying, you can't always say that, my family is not supportive. You make them supportive, right? You have a goal in mind, that's what you need to do.
It's of category 15 Tycoon. On this particular episode, we have the founders of the first exclusive co-working space for women, Jinal and Vandhana Ramnathan. So, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jinal.
Thank you.
So, for me, when I looked at the WSquare for the very first time, it has been a very fascinating kind of experience for me when the very first moment I saw the working space. So can you just tell me like what was the strong stand behind starting such a working space? Because if you would have started a working space where a normal, I mean like everyone can come and work, it would have actually fetched you a bit more revenue,
Yeah.
practically. But you have taken a strong stand. Can you just explain what's the story behind that strong stand?
Sure. So for us, Vandana and I, we have a relation for almost 4 years in business. So when we started off, we used to do digital marketing for a lot of clients, small and medium, and we used to work out of coffee shops. And our team used to be women who were in very senior positions, but they were working from home because of their duties with their kids being born. So we then realized that there's so much potential in so many women who've taken a break after sabbatical and are finding a big challenge to come back to work as such. So then we then thought of the whole concept of having WSquare set up. One, majorly because it's important to have a space of your own. Most women today, if even if they are entrepreneurs and doing small business, they work out of their houses, not realizing that there are a lot of down points as well when you're working from home, right from security, right from even being taken seriously professionally. So we then realized that providing a space, one, which is cost effective. Second, is very easy for people to connect with one another. That's a very big point that Vandana and me saw in the past 1.5 years of WSquare itself, that women find it so hard to connect with one another. Although there are so many women out there who are doing such amazing things, but they're not still able to come out and tell people of what they're doing. And it's a very small network per se. So we then thought that opening something like this here at WSquare would be a platform, like an ecosystem for women. So here we provide not just the space, we provide other facilities as well. So one, we've looked at something called the concierge services, where most women have their mundane chores that they need to take care of. So what we here do is collaborate with different vendors to take care of your basic needs like grocery, fruit, vegetables, or even beauty on call services. We've tied up with daycare centers as well, so that in case you want to come to work with your child, it's something that can easily be accommodated and done. Also, the other major plus point here at WSquare that we focused on mainly was providing a platform for women to learn more, because that was one space that we thought women lacked. You always need to be in par with what the market is providing, but always, if you attend any networking sessions, you barely find women. So we connect many women through our different programs and initiatives. So we have something called the Marketplace for Her, which is for home-based entrepreneurs, where we convert this workplace into an exhibition space. So a lot of home-based entrepreneurs bring out their products, while many of them. So what we do is we then have different mentor sessions and different talks to help them even scale their business, connect them with the right kind of mentors. So we look at providing a very holistic solution for women who are looking at to get back to work, or even for them to become entrepreneurs. So many a times we meet women who are already working, but they have a different objective or passion in life. So then they look at taking entrepreneurship as a route. So therefore, we then look at guiding them and providing like that ecosystem for them to scale up, as well as even even guide them at a very early stage. Yeah.
So okay, when you talk about this particular ecosystem in a whole, so all there you're doing a lot of things.
Yes.
On one side you're doing workshops, on one side you're trying to serve the women. So how do you tend to like combine? I mean, how do you think whether to start it or not? Because you're putting a lot of service in one place, right? So before starting a service, how do you just think like whether to start it or not? Usually.
Basically, it depends on validation. We first do a couple of workshops, for example. We try to understand what women really want, and then based on that, we come up with a series of workshops and program schedules. So it really depends on the type of women who are interested, and also on feedback on what they are looking for. So we always are here for all the sessions that take place. Any 2 or 3 sessions are there. We make sure that we are here to understand, get a feedback from women out on what more they're expecting, and based on that we work on our next set of workshops. So that's how we basically create or curate all these types of training programs, mentoring and workshops and networking sessions. Even our partnerships that we have partners with close to 40 plus different communities and companies, are all very close to what women actually require or are looking for when they are looking to scale up their businesses. So that is something that we do, and we get with constant interaction along with them.
When you consider again the working space, I mean, sorry, you again consider the working conditions of women
Right.
around the corporations or around the world in general, if you take that. So, what do you think the prejudice is happening? To what level is the prejudice still continuing?
So one, I would say, when you talk about women getting back to work, they still have the responsibility of maintaining a work-life balance. A lot of women, yes, now are getting a lot of support, but still, it is still lacking compared to what it should be. I think that I think more from they need to have more support from the family in either side before marriage or after marriage, and there needs to be more encouragement to get into entrepreneurship. End of the day, women earning is still a secondary level of source of income. It's not the primary source of income. So the amount of seriousness that is taken into women entrepreneurship is not as much as you're looking for when you're looking at gender equality. And so I think that way there needs to be more inclusiveness. I think more people need to be more open about women doing something on their own. The risk they are taking out is very less. So if you see, women typically look at finding businesses which have lesser risks. The reason being they don't want to invest more. So they don't get that confidence of investing more into a business because they don't have that support system for them to take it more or take it bigger from there. So the risk that they have is much lesser, which I think needs to be worked on. I think they need to take more risk. They have to look at scaling up. So the second problem they see is scaling up their businesses. So they are very happy doing home-based or small businesses or even products which have a very high level of distribution or scaling up is not happening because they are a little bit too skeptical about investing or trying to understand if they will be able to contribute 90% into their company or into their product. I think that way scaling up is also something that women are not usually very confident about. And I think more than the prejudice among men or generally among women is, I likely say, a tribe of women holds a woman's success. The success of a woman depends upon the tribe of women who hold her back. So I think the women that were behind the success of a woman really determines how she is going to be. So they can either really pull her down or they can motivate her up. So I think women need that motivation amongst people in her own community, women in her own community, to actually get the confidence to go up and rise up to a bigger level. So I think that way, that is also very important. So I think these three things are the prejudice that we see happening in the community for women, and which still needs to be broken. Though it is coming out, women are able to come out more confidently. These three attributes are still there, and it still needs to be worked upon.
So, do you think lack of self-esteem is one aspect that is actually not allowing women to go outside?
So lack of self-esteem, maybe after for women who are coming back after a career break, might be there. But I don't think it's for women who have just got out of college or women who's working. I don't think they don't have any low self-esteem. I think more than lack of self-esteem, I think it's the lack of taking risks, right, is more there because they have a bigger family to support. They need to give priority to more other things than work. And like I said, this is not the main They don't look at it as the main priority for them. They have other priorities that they need to cater to. Unlike for a man, end of the day, for a man, his end goal is to get money or food for the family. That's not the same case for women. Women is more of to take care of the family, right? So the way they objective for both of them are completely different. So that way, I don't think it's the self-esteem. Maybe for women are looking to get back to work, the confidence for them to come back to work after a 3 4 year sabbatical, after maternity or marriage. Yes, they might be, but I think now they're more open about it, and there are a lot of workshops and there are a lot of skill building programs that help them boost up their morale and their confidence to come back into work. But apart from that, I think it's the more of the motivation that they feel inside, and it's the confidence that they have that needs to be worked on more than esteem, self-esteem.
So when it comes to people, you're talking about college students or college students, you feel that they don't lack self-esteem usually. So one thing I just want to understand is exactly, if you consider two-tier and three-tier cities, most of the two-tier and three-tier cities. So usually girls most of the time, once they are graduate, they are usually pushed to marry most of the time.
Right.
This is something that is happening.
Yes.
In most of two-tier and three-tier cities. So do you think what I personally felt talking to most of them was all these people who usually married immediately after graduation don't have much exposure of the real world.
Right.
So whenever they are getting, they are hit by something from real world.
Hmm.
They usually they are not confident enough to go outside and do the work. Is something I personally I have observed. So do you think this is to what extent this is happening according to you?
I don't think this issue is only for tier 2, tier 3. I think it's for women in metropolitan cities as well. They are pushed to getting married, or they're pushed to staying at home after marriage, or they're pushed to just doing one job of being a mother, taking care of the children, or a bigger family or so. I think this issue is there across all cities. And yes, we do have a lot of women who call us up from Sivagasi, Trichy, Coimbatore, and all of them, and they are coming out on their own slowly. I think it's the community that needs to change. As the community changes and the mindset of people that women are constrained to being at home changes, then they will be able to come out of their own. So that automatically will work towards their self-esteem and towards their confidence and the confidence to come out and do something by themselves. So I think it's all end of the day interlinked with each other. I think that yeah. So like she said, it's the tribe of women who've got your back, who really help push and determine any woman's success. So it's the same thing applicable. So from where you come is not really what it is. It's exactly what you want to do or what you want to be. So if you see today, many women have a lot of ambition. So there are, if you see in terms of market trend, you have a lot of influencers today who are working from home, a lot of freelancers or even digital marketing experts. Yeah, so like I was mentioning that irrespective from where you come from, it's just what you want to be and what you want to actually determine is what drives you. And today there are a lot of opportunities for women in terms of, even if you're looking at to get back to work, there are a lot of uh, opportunities, online digital courses. Even we have this app called W Connect for women who looking to get back to work as well, where they could just drop in their details, and if we have anyone suitable looking for a resume like theirs, we then connect them to one another. So end of the day, it's just about what drives you and what you want to achieve, to be honest. Well, there is this whole clan who's very happy doing what they're doing in their own comfort zone. There is this other gang who wants to do more. So we've even come across women 50 plus who are so energetic and enthusiastic that even you start wondering whether are you giving your fullest. So it's just about the kind of people you meet. That's why networking is key. That's the reason why here at WSquare we make sure that we conduct and meet a lot of women so they connect with one another, and you never know what opportunities lie in front of you. So
So, okay. So that was really effective actually. So when you come to setting up the entire space, okay. So how messy was it? Because I definitely understand that whenever you start something, it's completely messy. We need to figure out a lot of things. We need to reiterate again and again. So how messy was the process by setting up the topic square?
I don't think in our case it was really messy because we were very clear of what we wanted to do, because I think that's something that comes back from where we started off. where we used to work out of coffee shops. We used to, spend thousands of rupees on coffee, and which eventually used to impact on our health. We almost gained 10 kilos in about 6 7 months, which we didn't realize because we were busy working hard. So somewhere, of course, there's always that small bit of setting up. It takes some time. When we started off, co-working as a concept itself was new to the city. While many, it's known a lot in other cities, but in Chennai per se, especially specific for women, is something women really didn't understand. So when we started telling them what co-working meant, they initially thought we were renting tables, or it was something to do with helping them find a business partner, or it was that whole ambiguity. But eventually, with time, in the past 1.5 years, we've seen a lot of things change, and that's one thing both of us believing is important to change to what the actual requirement is. While most startups are very determined of when you start off, you have an objective in mind. Although we haven't shifted one bit from what our objective is and was, but we've definitely tried to modify and give the best to the entrepreneurs or even women who are looking at any sort of help and support from our ecosystem per se. So that's ideally what comes to me when I think of when we started. It's like fresh in my mind because it we were so clear of what we wanted and why we wanted to create WSquare in itself, because this is something that no one would get. It's not easy. If you're looking at a space to network, you got to search the internet and see which session. Again, there are a lot of them who look for company because they are not too confident to go alone to a networking space because you don't know how it's going to be like. So I thought this kind of solved a lot of questions that most entrepreneurs would ideally have in mind, and that's where we thought this was the best thing to provide and give in a platter.
And I think that when your story becomes a startup, nothing goes messy.
Correct.
Because this is something from our story. This is something that we experienced, and we decided the answer was WSquare. So that way, we were very clear in our objective. We were very clear on what we wanted. So the ride has been very smooth, and it has been more of a learning. Each time we came up with something, we thought of. We always had an answer for it. It was more of a learning that we had. So that is what has been our experience so far. So
We always put ourselves in that situation and think, okay, if we were here, what would we ideally be doing? And then we look at what's the market providing us and where is that lack, and then we try to bridge that gap. So that's one of the key things we look at when we do anything um, for WSquare. So, yeah.
So when it comes to mothers,
Right.
so mothers who usually work, so how do you think they should be managing their work and life balance?
So when I started off with my first company with Jinal, I was a mother of two children. I have a 7-year-old and a 6-year-old. So I definitely was able to relate to what other mothers need, whether being getting back to work, because I got back to work in an agency before I started on my own. Or as to become an entrepreneur. I think one is they need to have a support system, and if they don't have a support system, they need to make sure they have one, right? So it's not like saying, you can't always say that my family is not supportive. You make them supportive, right? You have a goal in mind, that's what you need to do. It's not always thinking that, okay, what next to do, and work around it. How flexible can you be? I decided to pursue entrepreneurship because I felt it was more flexible for me to take care of my children, but I also know when I need to put my foot down and go for something which is very important for me. So you need to work around it, and I think definitely there needs to be a work life balance. You need to think for yourself. Motivation is something which is very important, especially when you're a mother, because you need to keep motivating yourself to do more bigger things and know that you can cross any hurdle that comes across to you, be it your son suddenly falling sick, or you have to make some special arrangements for your mother-in-law, or to cook food, or to buy groceries for the day. All of these are hurdles that you will find across. You need to always have a workaround for that. And the way with the way technology has gone out and going everything digital, I think it's very easy for mothers to come back to work if you're very digitally active, and if you know exactly how to basically balance things out. I think that is very important, and I think it's very important. Instead of calling mothers as the most important part of parenting, I think parents are the most important part of parenting. It's just not the mother; it's the mother and the father who make who are part of growing up a child, and I think that needs to be conveyed to everybody out there. it's not always just one person. It's two people who made the baby. It's two people who have to raise them as well. So I think if that message is put across, I think it will be very easy for more mothers to come out and do something on their own or get back on their career. And being financially independent, even if it's not for making money for your family or to support anybody, just being financially independent makes you more strong and makes you more confident about who you are. So I think that is very important for a mother, especially when they are back to work. So that's what would be my takeaway for every mother who are out there who are looking to get back into work.
See, that was super powerful. That the mother is not the, I mean, only mother is not the important part of parenting. It's both parents.
Right.
Are the important part of parenting.
Yeah. I mean, that's something they don't understand, right? We have been in a lot of situations where when the mother takes care of the baby, it's like, oh yeah, good, you're taking care of the baby. But when the father takes care of the baby, it's like, oh my God, you're so lucky to have a husband like him. And I've been going through that. I think a lot of mothers have gone through that phase where you're just thinking he's doing his job. What is so great about that? But that's how society is, and that's how people talk. You just have to get out of that mode where you just wonder why people are talking that way and say, good, how do I make use of it? If you're talking that way, great, then you're a great husband. So why don't you take care of the child an extra 2 days for me so I can get work done? Is how they should start thinking. So how you motivate yourself really makes you more stronger to come out and do something on your own. Right.
So, which area of your life have you suffered the most?
Right. So I think 3 to 4 years in a corporate life and working in a 9 to 5 job with a stable salary, and then changing that into a completely risky business, into a startup where you have no idea where you're going, where your future is going, and how much are you even going to get, or even if you're going to get anything back, is the biggest challenge that we have ever faced. I think that you go into a mode where you're very accustomed to getting a monthly salary, a paycheck exactly on the first day of the month, and you're looking for promotions after every year, you're looking for opportunities to travel. You bar that and then you come do something on your own that you're extremely passionate about, but you have no idea where it's heading. You don't know if you're going to grow or stagnate. You don't know if you're going to get anything out in the first month, if it's going to be the pay grade that you expected. But end of the day, what drives you is the motivation to make a difference. So I think that is something that is a situation I think that was kind of messy, and that transition took a lot of time because you're so used to one type of life, and to shift from that and move into something completely different takes that toll on you. And I think that has been the biggest challenge for us so far. So.
Who comes to your mind when you listen to the word successful?
I so we don't have any role models. I would say the role models for us are each other. For me, successful would be her, because at such a young age, to come out of the 9 to 6 mode and to come and do something on her own with absolutely no experience. So if you see startups, they have like 10 years or 15 years of experience, or they 6 years of experience. I came in with 7 years of experience in corporate. I knew how to talk to people, how to present, but she worked only for a year before she came out and we started to do something on our own. So right, fresh out of college with minimal experience, and not many people in her family who have been into the entrepreneur business, to come onto this, I think was very brave of her. So, and I think yes, she has been very successful in that as well. So for me, it would be her. It would be a lot of members in my family who have been successful in their own ways. So we look at peers to and learn from them. I think learning from them is bigger than looking at a bigger person and learning from them as well. So that would be my.
So coming to belief systems. So I feel belief systems are the one that actually keep driving us always. So what is that one belief that other people treat as insane of yours?
So for us, I think the whole idea of us wanting to make at least 60% of women get back to work, especially entrepreneurship per se. So I think when many of them who look at the number of things we keep doing, they just find it all crazy with the number of initiatives we run, with the number of places we are at, and how we juggle between work, life, and also our passion. I think that's one of the most insane things.
Even I have gone crazy when you told me all these.
But that's where, right, when you have each other, we don't really realize of how much we're actually going all out there. But when someone gives us that bird eye view and when they're looking at the whole thing, that's when we realize that, oh my God, that's like a lot of things in place. But for us, it's our day in, day out, because we are looking at, okay, this is done. Now what next? How else? What could we do better? So we are pushing each other all the time to, do the best. And of course, that's one of the main things we look at, women get that platform, utilize the facilities that we are providing out here for them to leverage and get the best for themselves. If they're looking for a platform, they should ideally think of coming to WSquare so that we help them in whatever small way we can, because that's something that we are passionately driving, women to do in terms of either get back to work, or if you're looking at to get into entrepreneurship or whatever else that you want to do ideally in your free time. There are a lot of women who are interested to invest in companies, but they're a little clueless on how to do it. So we then look at having special talks to just help them and guide them on what they could do better. So it's just about what you want to get at. So
So what are your upsets?
bridging that gap, uh, being that facilitator for women through our workspace, through our incubation program, through our multiple initiatives. And I think that's something we're obsessed about, seeing many women get successful, at the same time handhold each other, because that's one thing we see a lot, that many a times women are each other's enemies. When we used to talk to people that how Vandana and me are business partners, they used to be like, how is it that two women are working together as business partners? I thought two women's always meant a rift, but trust me, it's just a matter of how and what you're looking at. End of the day, that drives you. So
And I think we're obsessed with learning.
learning, right?
Something.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that with each of our initiative, we learn something new, and that helps us do something bigger. So I think that is an obsession that we have, and that's the reason that we have so many things on our way. So we think that, okay, will we be able to do this in the next 1 month? So we have like 50 sessions planned in the next 5 months'
5
time.
months time.
Will we be able to do it? Yeah, I think we can. But if we don't, we learn to do something better. So that's what we learn each time. We have had sessions where we had 25 people coming in. We have had sessions where we had only 3 people coming in. What is it that you learned from each of that? I think that is an obsession that we have, and that is what is driving us to do so many things for women. So that learning to help women scale up is, I think, something that we always obsessed with. So yeah.
So before finishing up, so where can people reach you online?
We are available on Facebook at Workplace for Her, and our marketplace initiatives are at W Events by Her. And you can also check out our website at www.wsquare.work, and you can reach out to us through our website if you need anything.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.